Following some breaking news at this hour, speaking of the former president, he's now weighed in on the announcement we saw from President Biden earlier this week that he is seeking re-election. Here's what Trump had to say on Truth Social. Biden announced his presidential campaign by, get this, a prepackaged video, one that took 7 takes to get it right, if right is what you want to call it. In it, he says Trump and MAGA pose a threat to democracy. No, it is Biden who poses a threat to democracy in that he is grossly incompetent and basically doesn't have a clue. We are now a nation in serious decline, a nation that has lost its way. We are led by a hopeless person, but we will win again in 2024 and make, let's see if we could move that graphic there, make America great again, I would assume. All right, there we go. I was right. Okay, with us here in studio reacting to this breaking news of Donald Trump weighing in, we have Flip Padot is joining us. He is the CEO of American Civics Exchange, former New York congressional candidate. Also with us is Melanie Collette. She is the host of radio show and podcast host of Money Talk with Melanie. All right, we've got everyone here, and we're glad to have everyone. So, Melanie, you're the latest to join our news desk here. What do you make of Trump's response?
I'm not surprised at Trump's response. I'm not surprised that he responded at all. I would prefer that he didn't respond and be critical, but that's kind of his brand at this point. So I'm not altogether shocked at what he said, and I don't think he was wrong about what he said. But you know, sometimes silence is golden. You don't have to say everything. But I'm not surprised and continually kind of entertained by the way he reacts to these things.
Yeah, Philip, we saw the video that was released by President Biden earlier this week. What did you make of that video, and what did you make of this comment now from Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, I sympathize somewhat with Trump's comments in terms of it was obviously a stitched together many different takes, and it's been in the works for quite a long time, very kind of Hollywood produced. And so given all that, you know, it's not that impactful of a re-election announcement launch video. But in terms of Trump, you know, holding his tongue, I think we know well enough by now he's not going to. He doesn't even when the judges tell him to stop posting things online, so he's not going to fail to respond to the president's re-election announcement.
What did you make of the video itself and Biden's message in it?
I mean, it's back to kind of the shucks, old Uncle Joe, lunch pail, you know, Amtrak rail riding Joe Biden. That's kind of, he's trying to introduce himself. We as a country know who Joe Biden is by now. We've known for, you know, longer than I've been alive, but he's been running for president since the 1980s. So we know him well enough to know that that's his brand. This election, one way or another, is going to be a referendum, at least on Biden, maybe on Trump as well, if he's the nominee. But it's going to be a referendum on the last 4 years. He's going to need to show us in 2024 that we're doing better than we were in 2020. 2020 is a very weird comp year, but 2024 might not be too far behind in terms of weirdness. We may be entering a recession. We may have a lot of societal and technological change going on. Sure. He's got a tough record to defend, and that's where he's going to have to pivot from aw shucks lunchbox Joe to defending his record.
Yeah, it wasn't just that. There was also digs at the MAGA extremists, right?
Sure.
So he definitely went after Republicans, especially when it comes to certain issues. But his slogan, now finish the job. So we'll see how that sticks. Wanted to get some other news with our panel here in studio. Of course, the news of Tucker Carlson. He has now officially broken his silence after the former Fox News host took to Twitter. He shared a video. Now, he didn't necessarily address his departure from the network. He didn't mention Fox by name, but he spoke about the country and political debates within the media. Here's the full sound.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people, people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also, a lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change, corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of those issues? It's been a long time. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it. Suddenly, the United States looks very much like a one-party state. That's a depressing realization, but it's not permanent. Our current orthodoxies won't last. They're brain dead. Nobody actually believes them. Hardly anyone's life is improved by them. This moment is too inherently ridiculous to continue, and so it won't. The people in charge know this. That's why they're hysterical and aggressive. They're afraid. They've given up persuasion. They're resorting to force. But it won't work. When honest people say what's true, calmly and without embarrassment, they become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink, and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some, and that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
And people have been tuning in to find out. I just refreshed it. 51 million now this time. So it keeps going up and up and up. And Melanie, when you think about the number of people who were tuning in to hear Tucker nightly on Fox News, that was one of the highest, if not the highest rated show on the network. Where does that audience go now?
I think they come over to Newsmax. In fact, many people had already been migrating to Newsmax, and the only reason why they were tuning into Fox in the first place was because Tucker was still there. One of the only reasons they were subscribing to Fox Nation was because Tucker was still there. So I think that they come on over to Newsmax. I think people who were curious about what is going on at Newsmax are going to now migrate over to Newsmax and follow Tucker on whatever. My guess is he's really smart. He'll probably go with something streaming, and they'll just follow Tucker and subscribe to whatever streaming service Tucker decides to do. I think I was transparency. I'm a card-carrying member of the Tucker Carlson fan club, unofficially. Absolutely adore Tucker and his truth, and that video was a perfect example of why I'm such a big fan of his. He's very smart. He didn't, in contrast to Don Lemon, who was fired the same day and had this very emotional response with no self-awareness whatsoever. Tucker, very intelligent, very measured, and truthful commentary without jeopardizing what I'm sure is an active NDA.
And Don Lemon was corrected by the CNN Communications Twitter account. We're going to dive into that and much more. So if everyone could stay with us.